and the use of cannabis to cure it. And one of the stars of it is Tracy Ryan. Did I get your name right?
You did. Thank you for
you.
having me today.
From Canna Kids preceded or Canna Kids followed the movie?
It followed. Canna Kids had not been born yet when we began this journey.
Okay. Now, Canna Kids sounds, I don't know, like a daycare or something. It sounds kind of like, like a kid thing, but it's not a kid thing. I mean, it helps kids.
Yes.
But it's also for adults.
I think we need to hear her story.
So, okay, tell me, why don't you go back to the beginning?
Okay, you got it.
Okay.
You got it.
And this began with your daughter.
Yes, it did. At 8.5 months old, Sophie was diagnosed with a very low-grade brain tumor called an optic pathway glioma. It's a 90% survival rate, but it's an 85% recurrence rate. So this is very much a chronic disease versus a terminal one, but it wreaks a lot of havoc because chemo doesn't get rid of these tumors. Reason being, chemotherapy goes after dividing cells. These are slow growing, so they're not dividing constantly like the more aggressive tumors. So the goal of chemotherapy is to arrest the development of the tumor and then hopefully get off treatment. But again, 85% recurrence rate, so these kids end up in chemotherapy for years often. My little girl's been in chemo for 6 years now. When this first started and we first began this journey, she was a baby. She was 8.5 months old, and the only option that they had for us were these 30-year-old drugs because there's very little pediatric cancer research being done. There's only been 3 new drugs brought to market in 30 years. So the protocols are very archaic and they're very toxic. We were looking literally everywhere we could for other options, and cannabis was the one and only thing that we thought was absolutely ridiculous the first time we heard about it, and we completely dismissed it.
How did you hear about that first time?
My husband's old roommate lived in India, and he's, of course, stayed friends with us on Facebook all these years. And when we started posting about what was going on with Sophie, he immediately reached out, and he had a lot of friends there that had known about, trials that were going on that side of the world in Israel and Spain and elsewhere. We thought it was crazy. I watched a video that they sent me. I watched like 30 seconds of a 5-minute video of a little girl that got better from it, and I completely just tossed it aside. And it wasn't until through this crazy chain of events on social media that I was connected with Ricki Lake, who's the producer of the film, and Abby Epstein, who's the director. And it was these women that started showing me the real science that had been going on since before the 70s, and started showing me literature about other patients that were children that had these brain tumors that were getting better by putting cannabis oil on the passy. So my husband and I were like, okay, this is Ricki Lake and Abby Epstein. I tried for a natural birth because of their film, The Business of Being Born. I knew how much they cared about families, and I decided to open my eyes to it. And what I found was astonishing. I couldn't find anything that scared me. So we took that information to Sophie's oncologist. We wanted to make sure this was something that they were going to be on board with. We had gone to Dr. Bonnie Goldstein, who I believe you've also had on the show, who's a wonderful human being.
She brought Meryl to tears.
Yeah, she's my favorite. She gave Sophie her card. She's been Sophie's pediatrician on the cannabis side since we very first started this journey. And the doctors gave us the sign-off. They could tell that we had educated ourselves, that we were loving, caring parents, and that we weren't trying to just drug our kid up. And that's how it all began. Sophie took her first dose of cannabis oil.
You know how lucky you are to have advanced doctors like that, rather than someone who
I'm shocked. I was shocked.
Well, no.
I'm still to this day shocked. This was 6 years ago.
That's not happening. No.
It was 6 years ago.
No.
It was, I truly believe that we're on a very guided path. I believe that Sophie was born this way for a reason. I believe that this was supposed to happen to us because it is. And we're just trying to do everything we can to make the best out of it. And we've been very blessed, and the people that have come into our lives, the opportunities we've been given, and the chance that we've been allowed to help people, not just in California, but around the world because of it.
As I recall in the movie, the remission was breathtaking.
The remission?
Yes.
Oh, Sophie's not in remission. Some of the other children are, though.
Okay.
Sophie's tumor doesn't ever go away unless I'm able to cure it, which I'm actually working on right now in our research lab. But some of the other children in the film did go into full remission.
Yeah.
The young man, AJ, who had osteosarcoma, he's actually a Canna Kids patient. We didn't get credit for him in the film because when he